home, yeah. Let her go home.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to TokiTV. Say hello real quick. Alejandro, Peggy, Howard, Roberto, and I welcome you. We want to know who's watching, so type your name and where you're watching from in the chat. Hey, Christina, I know people are joining in slowly today, but the numbers are climbing, so that's good. Hey, Gloria, thank you for joining us. Each and every week, you guys, we are here gathering in faith, prayer, and education for Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut. Thank you so very much for being with us today. Why don't we just go ahead and get in there while people are joining in and typing their names. Roberto, we have Roberto with us today. And if you would please open us up in a good way, Roberto, we'll hand it
Yeah.
to you.
Thank you, Ned, and hello, everyone, from wherever you are. Here today from Hollywood Beach, which is 1 hour from where Lolita is now in Miami Seaquarium, in front of an ocean that I know she'll get to touch with her own body. And that's where my prayers are going towards that desire and also that concrete reality. And soon, I would like to start with a short quote by the late scientist Carl Sagan. And this is from one of his books titled The Demon Haunted World: Science as a Candle in the Dark. And it's very appropriate for this broadcast where um, we advocate for Tokitai in a scientific, educational, and spiritual way. Carl Sagan said, "Science is not only compatible with spirituality, it is a profound source of spirituality. When we recognize our place in an immensity of light years and in the passage of ages, when we grasp the intricacy, beauty, and subtlety of life, then that soaring feeling um, that soaring feeling, that sense of elation and humility combined is surely spiritual. So are our emotions in the presence of great art or music or literature or acts of exemplary selfless courage, such as those of Mohandas Gandhi or Martin Luther King Jr. The notion that science and spirituality are somehow mutually exclusive does a disservice to both. So we're doing just the opposite and servicing science and spirituality. And I'm going to start us off with the prayer of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which is a Buddhist prayer, Nichiren Buddhist prayer, which in Sanskrit means I connect with the universal law of cause and effect through my voice. So this prayer goes to um, with the deep desire for the happiness of all living beings, no matter where you are in time and space. And I'm going to chant for a minute. You can keep your eyes open or close them as you wish. Just be yourself. Thank you. Nam myoho renge kyo. 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 Ramyo holding a 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 go ramyo holding a 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 go Namyoho Renge-kyo, Namyoho Renge-kyo, Namyoho Renge-kyo, Namyoho Renge-kyo, Namyoho Renge-kyo, Namyoho Renge-kyo. Namyoho Renge-kyo. Namyoho Renge-kyo. Namyoho Renge-kyo. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Roberto. Wow. Sometimes if I have to try to keep myself semi-present because that'll just take me there. It takes me a minute to come back from that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us and just sharing. I think I shared with everyone. Roberto had invited me for the month of August to join them in chanting every morning, which I did. I did not do 3 hours, Roberto, every morning. I did not do that, but I did. Do that every day, and it had me get up and greet the sun, which is something we learn. Greet the day, something that we learn from our Hawaiian relatives, and so it's had me connect in multiple ways. And we're past August, but I'm still doing it. So thank you very much for inspiring that practice. I used to get up and meditate every morning, and I hadn't done that in a long time. So thank you for
Wonderful.
that. And
Wonderful. Yes. And I wanted just to share a quote by my mentor who says, winning in the morning leads to winning in life. So we're setting up the rhythm of our daily life very early in the morning. Awesome.
And we're connecting with Toki every single morning and what's going on with her life. And so that's what it's been for me. And it's been a beautiful experience. So thank you. We have Wendy and Sarah and Maria and Tammy and Tim and Gloria. We have a bunch of people on typing their names and where they're from. Thank you so very much. And Maria, I didn't know you were from Germany. That's very, very cool. We have a good show today. One of the things we've been talking about a lot is, the general public. And I was really experienced that this week in looking at some videos that were put out by different organizations and the comments on them, and a lot of comments about how this can't be done and we can't do this to her and all these things. And we've been talking about that, and we see comments even in our posts in our group from people who are curious. And I also want to acknowledge that our group is growing a lot, and I'm really happy about that. And I keep putting people to that, like, well, if you kind of want the facts, you should check out this group. So Howard's going to take us on. He's going to share with us some of the talking points that he developed, and we'll go a little more detail as to why we're doing that. And then we're going to hear from Peggy, who to give us an update from the last action that they had, and then the upcoming action that we are in support of that we want to highlight this week. But before we do any of that, I would like to hear from Alejandro, and I'm sure you guys would as well. He was at the aquarium yesterday. How was that, Alejandro?
Hi, everyone. Yes, I was yesterday at the Miami Aquarium. I was connected with Lolita through my Facebook Live, and every time I go there, I feel many people feel happy because I am representing all of them. Everybody love Lolita. So every time I go, they feel the energy, and I encourage everyone to keep supporting this process. I told them that Lami people is the only they have the power to take Lolita home. We have a plan for her rehabilitation. We need to keep supporting Friends of Lolita, the donor, Pritam Singh, and everybody, the vets, even the vets too, because we trust this process. We support the vets, and it is what it is as it is, So I encourage everyone to keep sending Lolita positive vibes, positive energy, and keep supporting all we are doing for her, for helping her, trying to get her release. Maybe in the future, soon, I hope we can see Lolita reunited with her mother, Ocean Sun, and her family. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alejandro. We really do appreciate you going out there, and we know that she knows you're out there, and we know that she knows we're all pulling for her every single day through your guys' prayers. I see posts all week, people lighting their candles and doing their prayers. Thank you guys very much for doing that. We know she feels it. We really, really appreciate you. Howard, we have quite the Professor Howard with us today. We have quite the educational show once again today. So, Howard, you want to tell us what we're going to be talking about today and why?
Yes, there's quite a bit to talk about here. And these are the talking points that I started. I put most of these together, but with some advisors, and I really want to, give a shout out to the people who helped me with that. And you know who you are, and I really appreciate you. So thank you for that. So it's been a group effort, and it's a whole series of answers to objections, to doubts, to skepticism, to naysaying that you may hear from different people, and that are deeply entrenched, embedded into the cultures of the marine park industry and a lot of the scientific community. And here I want to kind of look back in history, give you a little context about why this is important. My degree is in sociology, sorry, but this is what I look at. I look at cultures, I look at traditions and the history of the marine park industry and the Sk'aliCh'elh, the whale biology scientific community, because they grew up together pretty much in the 1960s was when SeaWorld began, and that was with the first Shamu, who was probably a Southern resident before anybody knew that there were Southern residents, captured in Puget Sound. And the way it was done was by harpooning this calf's mother from a helicopter and then dragging the mother. And so the calf came along, and that's how they captured Shamu. And that was kind of the attitude. That was the thinking at that time. And the marine park industry needed a lot of scientists. They needed veterinarians. They needed trainers. They wanted to know the biology of the whales and dolphins so that they could keep them alive, because they were assets. They were valuable. So there was a lot of interchange. And about that time was the formation of the Society for Marine Mammalogy, which are all of the whale and dolphin and seal and pinniped scientists that formed about that time in the mid 1960s. And they were hosted by the marine park industry a lot for their conferences, and they were hired to the marine park industry. There weren't a lot of other jobs to get. So there was just a lot of intertwining, a lot of traditions and culture and beliefs that were shared between the industry and the births of the scientific community. So I really ran into that. Well, we did. My brother Ken and I, in the 90s, 1993, 94, 95, we were very early on involved in the Keiko project to bring Keiko out of Mexico and return him to the ocean. And there were other agreements made, and we were out of the project early on, but the actual project did continue, and Keiko did make it back to Iceland, so it was not in vain. But what we learned in those years, 3 or 4 years in the 90s, was that there is huge resistance in the scientific community to give any support, to talk about, to even go over the particulars of, could it be done? Is it safe? Is it possible? Because there had been so much indoctrination, propaganda, so much misinformation given by the industry to discourage any such talk. And if any scientists did that, they would they'd feel the repercussions. They'd be kind of shunned and blacklisted, and they wouldn't be able to play with their peers, because They stepped out of line by supporting those activists, you know, the ones that were advocating for release. So I feel it's important. We don't need this. You know, those of us who advocate, who believe in her, who pray for her, who know that she needs to come home, we know it deep in our hearts. We don't need all these talking points. You know, it's obvious to us. It's a no-brainer. She needs to come home. That's where she was born. That's where she needs to be. But it's the decision makers. And I don't mean anyone in particular or any group in particular, but when you look at the permitting agencies at NOAA, the National Marine Fisheries Service, and NOAA, they, you know, tend to be the scientists who sort of grew up with these reservations, these deep doubts that she could survive, and that she would do well, and that minimize her capabilities and her incredible brain power and her cultural capabilities, her memories of her family and her way of life before she was captured. And so what I have been trying to do, and with these talking points, is just address those head on. Okay, this is what we're saying, uh, because we have to answer the objections. And the main one is, oh, the transport would probably kill her. And I'm telling you, for 20 years, every time this aquarium got into the media, and every time there was any kind of a story, if we did a demonstration, if we made any kind of a statement, if anything happened that got this aquarium into the news, they would always go to this aquarium and say, what do you have to say about that? And the first thing they would say is, it would kill her. They don't say why or what they're talking about, but that's what they say. So you have to answer that head on and just say, no, it won't. There's no reason to think that it would. There's no historical, there's no scientific reason, and they never say what they're talking about. So, you know, it may seem obvious, but you know, she'll swim into this comfy fleece lined stretcher with big holes for her pectoral fins and her eyes so she can see what's going on. She'll be accompanied by her trusted trainers and people that she knows that are encouraging her. She'll understand what this is. You know, that's how she got there. So she will participate. She'll cooperate, participate, be part of it. She'll be relaxed. She'll be in that stretcher for that comfy ride home. There's no way that that will be stressful, and there's no historical evidence that that's ever hurt any orca. In the 50 years and hundreds of times that orcas have been moved. So there's really nothing to worry about as far as the transport back to her home. And another thing that comes up is that, well, she's been in captivity so long, she's damaged. You know, she's psychologically harmed. Even her brain has been damaged by the conditions of captivity. And there's logic to that. You would think so. I mean, that's like solitary captivity in a cell, incarcerated. You know, I mean, yes, she does performances and she does interactions with her trainers all in, and you know she does have a lot of time that has some stimulation, but most of her time, you know, every 24-hour day, most of that time she is just totally alone. She's in there in a concrete tank that her echolocation, if she tries to use it, just bounces off the walls. It's featureless, it's lifeless. And you would think that that would cause a lot of harm. And there is some scientific record to show that. There's a recent paper about the harm done to whales and dolphins in captivity. But she doesn't show it. It doesn't appear. There's no indication in her behavior. And you know, we heard this. I'm not personally an eyewitness to her behavior. I've seen her several times over the years, but especially recently, there have been many people, including Mayor Cava of Miami-Dade County and Commissioner Regalado, and one of her veterinarians who was on TokiTV, and we replayed that, Stephanie Norman, and Raynell has also said so, and Shirley, who came from Lummies and interacted with her very closely, and Rachel Anderson, a volunteer who went, it's now been almost 2 years, but she spent 3 days there and went early and stayed late and had as much quality time with Toki as she possibly could. And they all say she is alive and alert. She is keyed in to your conversation, to what you are saying to her and to each other. She follows the activities that are going on around her. She is very much alive and alert. Her brain just does not show any harm, any damage. She is very responsive. When trainers give a signal, it can be a hand signal, which indicates that her eyesight is not gone, as some have reported. I know she's still got good eyesight, and that's amazing, living in chlorinated water for over 50 years. But her eyesight seems to be okay. And her hearing is good. She hears whistles, she hears calls. So she is actually, in pretty good physical condition, and nobody has given any indication to the contrary. So that may be amazing. It may be miraculous, but she's in pretty good shape. She's not psychologically harmed. And she keeps herself fit. She actually works out. I mean, I've seen the videos of this, that with no trainers, before the shows, she'll just, and I've shown the video, I think, on TokiTV in one of the presentations, where she'll just pick up steam and gradually increase her speed around that tiny, tiny tank. And she's got to turn one constant U-turn the entire time. But she manages to pick up a lot of speed and, throw up a bow wave, that just about goes out of the pool. So, I mean, that's work, that's strenuous, that's exercise, and she does that entirely on her own. And anyone who gets exercise, any kind of, runner, swimmer, skier, skateboarder, knows that when you get good exercise, it feels good. And, there are chemicals or hormones, endorphins, that build up and that are good for your health and your body and your overall outlook and disposition. And they all kind of improve when you get good exercise like that. And I think she knows that, and she takes care of herself and keeps her body and her mind in good condition. I think, deliberately, she's got good habits. And another claim that we're hearing all the time is that she's old. She is so old. And so you have to be very careful about her because, she's frail. She's geriatric. Well, she's not. I mean, I come from the demographic study of her family, the southern resident orcas. And it was established decades ago that orcas, female, especially orcas of the southern resident community, can easily reach 70, 80, even to 100 years. So that's her DNA. That's her family. She's already in her mid 50s. So, and she's basically healthy, very healthy. So she could easily live another 20, 30 years. So she's an adult, but she's not an old adult. So really to say that she's old is wrong, but it's commonly said. Most people believe it. So we really have to dispute that. She's not old. She's a 50-year-old female and very much equivalent to a human 50-year-old female. So, I'm not going to tell a healthy 50-year-old or 55-year-old female that they're old. I mean, they're gonna answer that one.
Real quick, Howard, can I just reiterate
sure.
something you said? Because in some of the conversations I got into this week, or some of the comments, conversations I got into this week, people will cite all kinds of things about no, the average is 30 to 50, and no, the average is 20 to 30, and no, and what you said is very important. I just want to make sure everybody caught that, because we know this, right? Everybody watching this show, probably everybody watching knows this, but people really do not. So when they're comparing and they're making these statements, they're getting the lifespan of whales who are in captivity, or a kind of a general thing about whales and dolphins, and they really need to realize that you have to measure her against her family, her pod, her bloodline, her lineage. And so when we're saying 80 to 100, it's because that is based on fact, on her pod, on her family. And I just want to make sure people
that's right.
reiterate
Right.
that when you're saying these things.
And those statistics are based on from birth. And there has been a lot of mortality in the first year, 2 or 3, in the past couple of decades, having to do with the shortage of Chinook salmon, their primary food source. So that has affected the overall population statistics. But for one thing, she has not had to deal with that, and she has reached her mid-50s. So she, you have to look at her as starting from that point. What is her expectancy? So at that point, she has another 20, 30 or more years in her. So that's sort of the demographic picture that you need to look at, is look at her. Not just these statistics based on demographics that start with a highly impacted family, basically the whole southern resident community, but her in particular. So moving on, and the talking points, her native habitat will be therapeutic for her. And how much more information do we need to understand that? It's in the Merck manual, the sort of the Bible of veterinary medicine, says that the best place, the best surroundings environment for any marine mammal is their natural habitat. The closest you can approximate their natural habitat, that's the best for them. That's the healthiest. So why not their actual marine habitat, where they came from? And there's no question that living in tanks does stress immune systems. The problem right now with Toki is her that she has some kind of infection, which is kind of a persistent but mysterious infection. At least I don't know that they have tracked it down. They don't know the location of it in the body. They don't know the origin of it. They're treating it with various antibiotics. I hope they're targeted and not just flooding her with general antibiotics. But still, how can that not be related to the fact that she is confined in captivity? And in that particular tank that is drawing water from Biscayne Bay, let's see, that's a later talking point, but I can cover it now, because Biscayne Bay is not entirely pristine and pure. I mean, it gets a lot of runoff from the whole agricultural sector of the Everglades and Central Florida. That flows into Biscayne Bay right through the city of Miami, and all of the development, all of the buildup, all of the marinas that are all around Biscayne Bay are contributing to that water quality, and it's not all that good. And of course, that tank is old, and the filter systems, the whole system is not adequate, is not keeping up with the pollution, is not keeping the water clean. I don't know exactly what the systems are in terms of chlorine or any other kind of additive to the water to clean it up, but it's not enough. The water is not good quality, and it's certainly not the quality of the water back in the Salish Sea, back where she needs to return to. And that's another point that has been made, that, oh, but that water is toxic. It's not toxic. The water column, the actual water, is very clean and clear. The toxicity that people think of has to do with what are called persistent organic polychlorines, which are PCBs, well, fire retardants, and those are things that were dumped into the water about 40 years ago when they were outlawed. And they are gradually decreasing in the water, and they really don't harm anything without having built up. They need years and years and decades to build up to any dangerous level, and then they're not even dangerous unless the animals are stressed. They are malnourished, then they draw down from their fat supplies where their energy is for energy if they're not getting enough to eat. So only then does it become dangerous. And so that will not be dangerous to Toki. She will not build up huge supplies. She will not be stressed. She will be taken care of. She will be provided the food that she needs. So she will not be harmed by those background pollutants, which are, by the way, decreasing. They're settling down into the sediments and out of the food chain. And so they're less and less of a problem in any case. So just don't let it be said that the water is toxic in the Salish Sea. It's not.
Howard,
Yes.
before we get too far, because we have a few comments coming in exactly like
Okay.
kind of what you're talking about, is someone said, would you be able to explain, trying to find it, because it was a little ways back, about the double netting and how that could protect?
Yes. Yes, sure. We're getting to that. And that has to do with the possibility that and this is the most alarming objection, and it does demand the most attention, and that is that and Stephanie Norman, the veterinarian, brought that up too, that we really have to be careful about what she might take back from that Biscayne Bay water that she's been in for 50 years, that might be novel and has never been found in the Salish Sea before. Not that there is anything identified, but just to make sure that that doesn't happen, or that she might run into some kind of pathogen that her immune system is not used to. And of course, she grew up here, and our immune systems, build up immunities to whatever they're exposed to. So chances are she was exposed to most of whatever is in the background here in terms of any kind of pathogens. But that's still a possibility that has to be, very carefully looked at. And that can be done in the same way that it was done for Keiko, by the way. The same kind of objections came up before Keiko went to Iceland. There were a lot of objections that, oh no, he's going to, carry a pathogen that is going to infect the Icelandic orcas, and it'll be a mass die-off, and you don't want that to happen. So let's not even do that. Well, a team of 6 veterinarians and epidemiologists, pathologists were appointed by the USDA to examine Keiko, top to bottom, thorough, for every pathogen known to science. And he was negative for every single one. He got a clean bill of health. And then Iceland sent out 2 veterinarians to verify that, because they wanted to be very sure that he would not carry anything back to Iceland. And he got a clean bill of health from them. And of course, he did go to Iceland, and he didn't infect any orcas, and he didn't carry any pathogens. And so, that was dealt with. But it's a real concern, but it has to be dealt with. And another way, just to be double safe, is that her net can have a double net. So whatever, it could be 20, 30 yards from the net that she is within in the sea pen, another net so that her family cannot come nose to nose and breathe the same air. So, that is a safeguard that can be done just to be sure. And, I believe it will be done and needs to be done. But in that way, all of those concerns can be put to rest. She's not going to carry anything that would infect her family. She can be examined over and over and over, really, from before she leaves to after she's home, to make sure that she just is not carrying anything. Her blood can be checked, her respiration can be checked, everything can be checked to make sure that she doesn't carry anything that could possibly harm her family, and she can be protected from her family, certainly for a long quarantine period of time, to make sure that nothing like that happens. Um, so, any other questions that need to be addressed here?
And we might get to it, but this is kind of, especially this week, there's been a lot of concerns about let me find the actual comment here. Isn't the news about the bird flu disease concerning for Toki? Does this provide any more reason for an urgent move out of the tank that she is in? Howard, do you want to talk about that a little bit? Or?
Right. Well, that's another concern that needs to be looked at. It's serious. But let's put it in context, let's put it in proportion there. There was one bird flu mortality, apparently, of a dolphin in the Gulf of Mexico. That's hundreds of miles and across all of Florida and into the Gulf of Mexico from the seaquarium. But, it's an indication that it's in the environment, it's in some of the birds, and that it can harm dolphins. And Toki is a dolphin. She's in the dolphin family. So that has to be watched for. But, it's a minute chance. I mean, it's just something to look for. And there are birds that fly over, and there are herons that land right there by the fish bucket, and they can be pooping all over the place. And so that definitely degrades the water quality of the tank. But whether that is going to carry any bird flu, I think could be detected before it does any harm to her. And it's something to watch for. But what it really indicates is just another reason why that tank is not healthy for her, and that she really needs to be moved out of that tank to get help at some point. I mean, I know it's a judgment call. It's a balance of when is it too risky and when is it advised, indicated scientifically to return her to her home. And that's that's a judgment call. She could still have some infection, and that be treated all along the way and after she returns. But it might be healthier for her, and it might clear up faster if she's in her home waters. That's just sort of the medical perspective on it.
Thank you for addressing that, because that article that came out this week is really concerning. And I just want to reassure people that we do know that the vets are aware of that article and they are looking at that. And they have been actually, if you go back and look at the episode that we had Dr. Norman on, she did discuss this, and they were aware of what was going on north. And then now that has been found off Florida, I know that is more concerning, but the vets are aware of it and are looking at it. So thank you, Howard, for addressing that at this point. And I'm sorry if I threw you off your
let's take it seriously, but let's look at it in proportion. It's not an immediate present hazard.
Okay. Thank you.
Now I want to look at sort of the emotional effect on her of returning to her home waters. The story out of the seaquarium and out of the marine park industry, and that most people, this is all they've ever heard in the scientific community and in the public and in the media. Most people are of the belief that that she doesn't remember anything, that coming back to the ocean water will be a shock to her. She'll have no idea what an ocean is, that it will give her such a fear, such a it'll shake up her entire, emotional sense, and she may never recover. That's sort of the way that it's been described, that, oh no, she can't possibly go back to the ocean. She just won't know what it is, and it'll frighten her. All she knows is that, the confinement in concrete. Well, I beg to differ, because she was born and raised here. And when I say that, that may sound a little crazy. Raised? How can an orca be raised? I mean, we talk about how we're raised, on a farm, or, wherever we may be raised by our family. We're taught how to behave, our manners, our traditions, and who are our family, and how to live however we are. She did too. Her family brought her up. Her family taught her how to live, and introduced her to her world, and how to swim around, and how to be comfortable, and how to feel free, and how to dive deep. Because typically southern residents go after fish about 300 or 400 feet deep. They can go much deeper, but that was normal. So she must have done that before she was captured. She was about 4 years old, and that's pretty big and pretty grown up, actually, for an orca. So she was doing pretty much everything that all the adults were doing at that point, in terms of catching fish, sharing fish. That's one of their traditions. Like we share food at the table, they share their food. She learned all that, and she learned her habitat. She learned the contours. When they dive underwater, they're using their echolocation, which is like headlights. They actually get images. They get the sort of a visual representation of the entire undersea topography, all of the canyons, all of the kelp forests, all of the nooks and crannies, the shallow parts, the bays, the inlets. Everything is a part of her world that she was just normally going through, and back and forth, and up and down, and all around, all the time, before she was captured. That doesn't go away. That's her backyard. That's her her playground. That's where she lives, and in her mind. And I have a sort of a unprovable belief that she still to this day maintains vivid memories of where she lived before she was captured. Not only her family, of course, her family, but of the physical environment, the ocean, the all of those contours and details and life forms, all of the fish and the birds, and the many kinds of fish and plants, that grow around it, in that undersea world. She still remembers those. And when she returns, it will be like going home. It'll be like finally coming home. And that, maybe I'm anthropomorphizing a little bit, but, I mean, there are mammalian emotions, and one of them is enjoying being home, and being refreshed, and being energized, and feeling the relief of getting home finally, after a long hazardous adventure. It's really good to get home, to your own home, your own bed, your own yard. And for her, that's what it's going to be like. uh, she's going to have that feeling of returning back to her home. And our only real example of that was Keiko after he got back to Iceland. And I've tried to bring this out. This was in the local Oregon newspaper at the time, and I caught it and saved it because this is so valuable. and it's almost never talked about. Um, and yet it shows how he responded when he was lowered down in that stretcher. And by the way, that was, I think, 19 hours, from the West Coast to Iceland. And yet, after all of that trip, and he's as big as Toki. So it was a big, you would think a stressful trip, but he came through it with flying colors. And when he went into the water, they lowered him down into the water. As soon as he could work himself out of that stretcher and swim around that big expanse that he had in Iceland, he loved it by every, witness, every first person. Bob Ratliff, who was the executive director of the Free Willy Keiko Foundation. He was the representative of the donor, Craig McCaw, who oversaw the entire project. He was not a marine mammal expert, but he certainly became one, and he observed everything. And what he says, as soon as Keiko was immersed, he pumps his flukes to get clear of the stretcher and immediately dives. Goes down for a full minute, circling the pool, echolocating and vocalizing excitedly, like calling out, "Who's there? Who's there? Anybody here I know?" Like, I'm back. Anybody wanna talk? And he did that for 10 minutes, energetically exploring his new home, not interested in the trainers. I mean, he was not, the stories have been that he was so dependent on the humans that he couldn't break those bonds. Well, he did immediately. He was interested in his home, his habitat, his water. He wanted to explore everywhere and kick up his flukes and just have a great time in the waters where he was raised. So that is our example. It's the only one. And the veterinarian, by the way, Lanny Cornell, said the same thing, that it just doesn't get any better than that. He was so thrilled to see how healthy and vigorous and active and energetic that Keiko was as soon as he got back. All of those are indications of really good health, and they really just peaked immediately as soon as he got back. So that's our only scientific example, and that's a good one. I think we can pretty well rely on that image, that model, to tell us how Toki will feel when she comes back to her home waters. She's going to be thrilled. She's going to be relieved. She's going to be so happy, so energetic. She's going to want to look around everywhere. I think she's going to be absolutely in really good health when she comes back. So we can address a couple of these others. Is Toki habituated to humans? And of course, that was the objection to Keiko, was that, oh no, he was just so totally habituated to humans. Well, the big oversight, the big glaring mistake that was made with that whole Keiko project was to not find his immediate family. It's a whole different social system around Iceland. It's much more fission, fusion, much more diffuse. And so his actual matriline, meaning his mother, if she was still alive, or maybe grandmother, and siblings, and their offspring, they needed to be found. They needed to be located, and that could have been done. It might have taken a couple of years. You would have had to use genetics and acoustics and every other kind of way to locate his immediate family, but that was never done. So he did not find his immediate family, and so he was sort of adrift. He couldn't be adopted. That's not in their social system to adopt a unknown adult male into their pod or their family. So he couldn't be accepted. He couldn't be adopted. So he couldn't rejoin and be sort of in good standing with the orcas off Iceland. So he took off. He swam across the Atlantic Ocean, which shows he was in pretty good condition. And he fed himself along the way. He dove to the depth where the fish were, and he fed himself all along the way and showed up in good condition, tired, but in good condition. But for Toki, her family is the southern residents. They are intact. They are cohesive. They stay together all the time. So, if it comes to the point where she is capable, this would be after some time of rehabilitation, rebuilding her strength, and her showing by her body language what she can do. I think she would be able, if she gets all the clearance, to go back and rejoin her family. At least give it a try. We'll see. And this would tell us so much about their memories, about those bonds, about the whole natural history and social structure of the southern residents. It would be such vital information scientifically. And what a heartwarming story. What a story of redemption, of of repair of this world that we have so torn apart, to reunite her with her family. So I will just leave it. We're coming up on, I think, the end of my time here. So let's hear from Peggy on her.
You never have a time limit, by the way,
I
Howard.
don't have a time limit?
Never. You never have a time limit.
Well,
You never have time.
I did put the full document link in
Great.
the chat as well. So if you guys haven't seen it, please go to the chat and do that. I'll also maybe boost it on the page a little bit, because nothing like hearing you talk about it though, Howard. I think it carries something a little more to hear you, because you have the background for it. So thank you for being willing to not only create that document and help, spread it around, and but to be able to explain it. A lot of, like, Joe did this cool video with your talking points and, condensed for mass sharing, like on, TikTok and Instagram and all that. And I don't even remember how many views she said it got, but people need to hear it. And
Yeah.
just the one big one, just because you kind of touched on it, people really do think, really do think, and it's not a bad thing. It's just people don't know, right? So this is where we go back to education. Some people really just don't know. They don't know the story. They don't know the history. They don't know her family. They don't know she has a family. And people really do think that we're calling for her to, be brought in this sling and released in the ocean like good luck, and
Down.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, like, like, and that's not it. So when we're having these conversations or we're sharing this education, keep that in mind. People do not know some of the basics that we do, because we talk about it all the time. So, and that's okay. It's a great opportunity to educate people. They say, oh, the whales will be mean to her. And, and it's like, they don't know that we know who her family is. People don't know who she belongs to. And no, we're not just going to drop her in the ocean and wish her luck. So I think having that knowledge of the plan, please share that with them, because people do not know. Yeah. Is there anything you wanted to say to wrap up the talking points, Howard? Or
I would just like to repeat that image, just kind of reinforce that idea that she is going to be so thrilled to come back. It's going to be so healthy for her. Medically, it's going to be a huge improvement, but emotionally, I mean, it will, I think, just re-energize her. She'll feel so great to be home, and I would just like people to sort of see that and carry that with them, and answer the objections with that. She'll love it when she comes home. It's her home. It's where she was born and raised. She will be thrilled to be home. That's my bottom line message.
awesome. Thank you, Howard. And we'll I'm sure just keep talking about them, because I think it's important to keep that in the forefront. And when we talked about the conversation, it's not just the general public, right? The public knows about this that just not them that don't know, but lawmakers may not know
That's
all
right.
the history. And that is why we're doing this, guys, because we have got to keep that message going. We have to keep people informed. We have to keep them educated, because at some point they're going to be signing off on things, and they need to know what they're signing off on. And so, we're sharing away because everyone needs to be aware of this, not wait until, oh, we're going to apply for permits. Now we need to educate people. No, we need to educate them now. And we need to spread this information now. So when it does come across their desk, they're aware, they're educated, they have knowledge of what's going on, which brings us to the action that we're promoting this week. And yeah, some people are saying, they're sure the trainers, vets, biologists will all have a good plan. There is a good plan. The plan is solid, and but we just got to get out there and continue to spread information that it can be done, because like Howard said, a lot of people don't think it can, or don't want it to be, or they're going off of information from different agencies, and really this can be done. So I'm going to say that over and over, and that's okay, because you guys should too.
Yes.
Say it over and over.
Let's say it over and over. It's a mantra. It can be done. It can be done.
It will be done. The other mantra is, we will bring her home. We will bring her home. And I see people saying that all the time, and we will, you guys, we will. So thank you for that. Peggy, we have a video, Peggy, but I'm thinking if it's okay, and I know you guys are gonna hear in the video to stay tuned for the announcement, but can we flip it? Can we do the action first before we talk about the art letter? I'm just a little worried about Facebook being weird with the video. So do you mind to talk first, and then we'll play the video after? But this action needs to be talked about, and we need to get going on it.
Yes. Am I on now? Audio and everything? All right, great. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining in, and thank you, everybody, for being a part of this. I want to just express my agreement with everything that Howard has said. I actually have ultimately gotten my degree in environmental art and painting, but as of about, 48 years ago or so, I became very enthralled with dolphins and whales, and I'm just a dolphin whale nerd, I guess you can say, because every time I have the opportunity to read about cetaceans and learn about their behavior, and it's just fantastic, and I'm enthralled. And so, from my background of being a cetacean nerd, I guess you could say, especially more recently with how amazing orcas are, I have full faith in TokiTV being able to return home. And one quick suggestion that I posted in the comment is, as far as that concern about her bringing back, some things that might be from the Biscayne Bay water, is a suggestion to consider. I'm not a scientist, but I'd like to put it out there that maybe when they are putting TokiTV in the transport container, to have water that's refrigerated brought over from the Salish Sea into that transport tank, so that she's being brought over in her own water, and then there's no concern about the water from the Biscayne Bay being brought over to the Salish Sea. That's a contamination suggestion, anti-contamination suggestion. Anyways, I want to thank everybody there. Hopefully the video will play all right, as Annette expressed her concern about Facebook being kind of strange about the music. And I was able to get permission to use Bring Lolita Home by Bruce Coughlin. And it's just a beautiful song, so hopefully it'll play. I wanted to thank everybody first, in case the video doesn't work for some reason, for the 2,730 plus letters that have been received, that have been forwarded to Eduardo Albor, the CEO of the Dolphin Company. And we have another action now. And it's been incredible. I mean, it's just this whole story of TokiTV, especially in the past year of the change of ownership and all these things. And then I'm not sure how many people here, maybe we could see a little click on the like button, or to let us know how many here have seen the news about, it's getting on close to about 7 weeks ago or so, the letter from U.S. representatives, congresspersons, Maria Elvira Salazar and Suzanne Delbene. They wrote this letter and they got it co-sponsored by 7 other U.S. representatives to address. It's addressed to the USDA regarding the situation that the USDA basically left Tokite and Li'i in the whale stadium. And it was unprecedented. I just went, wow, this is incredible. And so I felt that it was really important to have a follow-up action to that, because sure, these representatives sent this powerful letter to the USDA requesting that they follow up on this and not just leave them in this tank, basically. And so I called Representative Salazar's office in Florida and asked about the best ways to support. And they said to everybody in the United States to contact their own representatives as a constituent, so your congresspersons, and ask them to co-sponsor this letter to the USDA. Bring it at least on their radar, and to talk about Tokite, to tell her story in this personalized letter. I have all the resources together here in the Google Docs, including a sample letter with the quotes from these representatives. You can see the letter yourself. There's a link there. And seeing that wonderful document that was put together by Howard about the talking points, that is also in this document. If you scroll down to the lower part, it's there. So that anybody who's writing this letter can also scroll. It's you didn't get the screen capture yet, I don't think, in that because I just added it last night. But it's there so that everyone can access those talking points about releasing Tokite, and show your support for that letter by reaching out to your representative, your elected officials who got your vote, who's representing you. It's time to ask them for support, because that support has already started. And this is like an unprecedented thing to have some, 9 U.S. representatives addressing this issue to the USDA. So this is an incredible opportunity. And I also just urge everyone to think positive. Think about what you really want. Don't let negative thoughts about this can't happen or that can't happen, or she's too old. She's not too old. Tokite is the most, Tokite Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut. She is, to me, the greatest inspiration in my life. Her strength, her grace. I'm going to get kind of teary-eyed. So we don't give up. Don't give in to negative thinking. Please keep positive. Keep her in your prayers for her wellness and her return home very soon.
Thank you, Peggy. And someone mentioned here, like, oh, it's just for U.S. citizens then because you're writing to your Congress people. Yes, on that one, but there's the additional action, Peggy, for the letter directly to the USDA. As an additional action, you guys could do this as a sample, asking the USDA as well, just letting them know that you're in support of this. So that's also in the link. I posted the links. If you didn't get the links or you can't access them for some reason, go to Peggy Oki's page or the Origami Whales Project page, or reach out to me directly through Messenger and I will get you the link. But yes, if you're in another country, you still can send that letter to the USDA, letting them know that you are in support of the letter that they received from the congressmen. So I think that's important. And here's another little plug there, guys. Personalize it. So if you have an immediate concern, and Susan just said that on a comment too, put on there that you are concerned about the bird flu. If you are concerned about, put that on there. It's okay you to personalize your concerns while you're pledging your support for that letter. Do that. Be heard, you guys. Someone said at the beginning too, like, yes, everybody, thank you for your prayers, and we need more action. So be in action, and nobody's saying not to do that. By all means, we are gathering in faith, prayer, and education to support each and every action, but absolutely be loud, be heard. I will keep saying that. Use your gifts. Speaking of gifts, I just want to point here. I'm trying to point backwards. So that painting there by Ma is using her gift is as an artist to raise funds for Toki Sanctuary. So, use your gifts, you guys, and be creative, getting the word out. Howard, thank you for the talking points. We definitely appreciate those and want to get more people to have that as a backup for these conversations that they're having. Peggy, I do want to play the video, and I want to let everyone know this video we're going to play with Peggy. I'm playing it at the end because sometimes Facebook will get tricky, and even though we have permission to use this song, by the time Facebook figures that out, it might kick us off. And so if you don't get kicked off, stay till the end because we will be closing again with our wonderful song by Shirley Bob that she sang to Toki when they visited. I'm not sure when it was, about a month ago. And it's the farewell song. As she says, we will see you again. It's not goodbye, it's farewell. So Peggy, we're going to play your video first. And then after that, we will close with Shirley's song. A lot of actions. I'm talking super fast. We're way over. I'm going to post some links. There's a totem pole journey going on right now that I kind of wanted to talk. You know what? I'm just going to do it real quick. I'm going to talk about it real quick. Sorry. Because it's important. So it's a totem pole journey to the clean energy justice convergence. They're going to be in Pittsburgh. And this is, Joel James, Doug James, Sikikatum, Siamuet, Freddie, they're all on this journey. So if you guys do not know about this, I'll post the link as well there to our shared responsibility. The Facebook page is called Shared Responsibility, a Totem Pole Journey. Please go on there so you can watch, and I'll post the link now when I play Peggy's video so you can follow along on that totem pole journey. So everyone, thank you again. I'll stop talking now. Peggy, let's play your video. You ready?
Ashka. Thank you, Annette.
Ashka.
Hi everyone, Peggy Oki here, about to present the online art exhibit of Art Letters for Lolita. We're going to bring Lolita home. And wanted to just share the last bunch of letters that came in. And this is a batch from Lost Art of Love Letters. Thank you so much, Sandra. And amongst those letters came this one, which was, I just had to share this one. Look at it. It's like this origami sort of thing. And you pull it open, and there's a message inside. It says, "Dear Eduardo Albor, please release the orca. It would be really cool. Lolita doesn't have a lot of space to move around. So please release Lolita." And I have one more to share. One last but not least, this beautiful piece of art. So much love went into this, and then you open it up, and then there's a letter talking about song and love and freedom, and this from Joy Diane Sewell, and every message that came from everyone, the thousands of letters for Tokite's freedom were so beautiful and heartfelt and all appreciated. And I wanted to just apologize in advance if your art piece is not in there or if your name does not appear in the thank you, because I was unable to track every piece and to also include every piece because there's only so much time in the video allotment. So I hope you'll enjoy, and please stand by at the end of the video for my announcement. Thank you.
Is a long haul, trapped inside these prison walls. Doesn't time pass by at a crawl, Lolita? Can you tell me what was your crime? Lock you away from all of your kind, lost and afraid for such a long time, Lolita. Bring Lolita home. Bring Lolita home. If you knew all she'd been through, leave the girl alone. Sing Lolita home. Sing Lolita it's pent up zoo, where people point and they laugh at you. Lolita, bring Lolita home. Bring Lolita home. If you knew all she'd been through, just leave the girl alone. Sing Lolita home. Sing Lolita home. Sing Lolita home. She's been gone way too long. Bring Lolita home. Help is coming, though the hour is late. Save you from your twisted fate. Storm the walls, tear down the gates. Bring Lolita home. Bring Lolita home. If you knew all she'd been through, just leave the girl alone. Sing Lolita home. Sing Lolita home. She's been gone way too long. Bring Lolita home. Sing Lolita home. Sing Lolita home. She's been gone way too long. 45 years is a long, long haul. Trapped inside these prison walls. Doesn't time pass by at a crawl? Lolita.
Wow, thank you. Peggy, I know I said I was done talking, but that's not true. Thank you. I just want to say thank you. The effort you put into this and just in the video, I mean, and I saw everybody's names. If you didn't see your name, go back and start again. Peggy gave shout outs to everyone who assisted. It really does take every single one of us together, you know, regardless of views and all kinds of stuff. I mean, we all have to get together for her. It's all about her. Peggy, thank you for all the work you do and the effort you put. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. And go back and watch the comments because a lot of people sent thank yous to you. So
I want to thank Peggy too. It's been beautiful and what a production! What a beautiful ending to this episode of TokiTV to go out with those beautiful images and emotions and music, and it's just so encouraging and unifying for everyone to sort of be a part of that, and so optimistic, and I feel like, you know, that helps it happen. That keeps us going to make it happen. Somehow she's been able to keep going all these years, and so we have to too.
Absolutely. And just remember, guys, stay positive. Don't give up. We will bring her home. We will see you next Sunday at 1 o'clock Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. And now we will close with Shirley Bob's song played over some drone footage from earlier this year. It's the farewell song. It's not goodbye. We will see her again. We will bring her home. Thanks, guys.
When we got ready to leave, I told her, this is not a goodbye. This is just farewell. We'll see you again. Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut, Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut,